In the Pistis Sophia, one of the most complete Gnostic texts ever recovered, there's a chapter the church tried to erase from every copy they could find. It describes a private conversation between Jesus and his inner circle 3 days after the resurrection, when he was preparing them for what comes next. The disciples were confused. They thought the mission was over. They thought salvation was automatic now. But Jesus told them something that shattered their assumptions. He said there are 5 paths out of the archon prison, 5 ways the monad pulls chosen ones back to source, but each chosen one can only walk one path, not all 5. Not whichever feels comfortable. The path chooses you based on the frequency you carry, the mission you agreed to before you incarnated, and the specific weakness the archons exploited to trap you here. And if you try to walk the wrong path, if you choose based on ego or preference instead of recognition, you will waste lifetimes circling the same lessons while the archons harvest you in every loop. Tonight, you're going to learn what those 5 paths are, how to recognize which one is yours, and why the archons fear the moment a chosen one discovers their correct path more than anything else. Because the moment you step onto your path with full awareness, the prison stops working, the illusions collapse, the manipulation ends, and your escape becomes inevitable. If you're discovering your path tonight, comment, "I choose my path," right now, and let the monad recognize your readiness. The reason the church removed this teaching is because it destroys the idea that there's only one way to salvation. The entire structure of institutional religion depends on controlling the path. They tell you there's one door, one mediator, one approved route, and you must go through them to access it. But Jesus taught his inner circle something completely different. He taught that the monad doesn't have one extraction method. It has 5, each one designed for a specific type of soul, a specific frequency, a specific mission. And the diversity isn't a flaw in the system. It's intentional, because the archons don't trap every soul the same way. Some are trapped through fear, some through pleasure, some through pride, some through ignorance, some through duty. And the path that frees you must match the mechanism that bound you. If you were imprisoned through fear, trying to escape through knowledge won't work. If you were bound through ignorance, trying to escape through service won't activate your exit. The path must be precise. It must match your frequency, and Jesus knew that. So he didn't give one teaching. He gave 5, one for each type of chosen one for each frequency signature the monad uses to call its fragments home. The first path Jesus revealed is the path of gnosis, the way of direct knowing. This is not the path of belief. This is not the path of faith. This is the path where you shatter every illusion through relentless perception until nothing remains but the truth. And the truth is, you are the monad experiencing itself through temporary amnesia. Chosen ones on the path of gnosis don't need teachings. They need activation. They don't need someone to tell them what's true. They need someone to remind them how to see. Because once they remember how to perceive beyond the veil, they begin dismantling the entire construct from the inside. Jesus described this path in the Pistis Sophia as the way of Sophia herself, the path of those who fell into matter through curiosity, through the desire to know what exists beyond the pleroma, and who can only return by knowing completely. If you're on the path of gnosis, you've always felt this. You've always sensed that reality isn't what it appears to be. You've questioned everything, not rebelliously, but because you can't accept surface explanations. Every teaching, every system, every authority figure, you look beneath it and you find the cracks. And when people tell you to just believe, just have faith, just trust the process, something in you rejects it violently, because belief isn't your tool, knowing is. And you won't leave this prison until you've seen through every layer of deception and perceive the monad directly. The archons fear this path more than any other, because chosen ones walking the path of gnosis can't be lied to. You can gaslight someone who believes. You can manipulate someone who has faith, but you cannot deceive someone who sees. And once a Gnostic chosen one activates their perception, they become a virus in the matrix. They start showing others the cracks. They start dismantling illusions just by speaking, and the entire prison system destabilizes around them. If this is your path, you already know it. You spent your entire life feeling like you're the only one who sees what everyone else ignores. And the loneliness of that vision has been crushing. But that loneliness is ending now, because the path of gnosis leads you out, not by transcending the illusion, but by seeing it so completely that it loses all power over you. And the moment that happens, you're free. The second path Jesus revealed is the path of pistis, the way of unshakable faith. This is not blind belief. This is not hoping something is true. This is the soul-deep certainty that no matter what happens in material reality, no matter what the archons throw at you, the monad is with you and your return is guaranteed. Chosen ones on the path of pistis don't escape through knowing. They escape through trusting so completely that fear cannot touch them. And fear is the primary control mechanism of the archon system. They rule through terror, through the threat of death, of suffering, of loss, of eternal punishment. But chosen ones on the path of pistis have accessed something the archons can't break, a trust so deep, so absolute, that nothing the archons do can generate doubt. Jesus described this path as the way of those who were sent into the densest regions of matter, not to learn, but to hold the light steady while others escape. If you're on the path of pistis, you've always had this strange, unshakable calm. Even in your worst moments, even when everything was collapsing around you, there was something inside you that wouldn't break. People have called you naive. They've told you you're in denial. They've said you're avoiding reality, but you're not. You're operating from a reality they can't perceive. You know, not intellectually, but in your cells, in your soul, that you are protected, that you are guided, that no matter how dark it gets, you are not alone, and that knowing has carried you through things that would have destroyed others. The archons hate this path because they can't leverage fear against you. Every weapon they have depends on making you doubt, making you panic, making you believe you're abandoned, or that the universe is hostile, or that suffering is random and meaningless. But you don't believe that. You never have. And because fear doesn't work on you, they can't harvest you the way they harvest everyone else. Your frequency is too stable. Your trust is too deep. And eventually, that trust becomes the vehicle that carries you out. Not because you figured out the system, but because you trusted the monad completely, and the monad pulled you through. The third path Jesus revealed is the path of agape, the way of selfless love. This is not emotional love. This is not attachment. This is the recognition that every being, every fragment, every expression of consciousness is the monad experiencing itself, and therefore harming another is harming yourself, and serving another is serving the whole. Chosen ones on the path of agape escape the prison by becoming so aligned with unity consciousness that separation becomes impossible. They dissolve the boundaries between self and other so completely that the archons lose their grip, because the archons operate through division, through making you believe you are separate from others, separate from source, separate from the infinite. But when you live from agape, when every action is an expression of love for the whole, the illusion of separation collapses, and, without separation, the prison has no walls. Jesus described this path as the way of those who incarnated specifically to serve, to heal, to hold space, to anchor monad frequency in the darkest places. If you're on the path of agape, you've always felt the suffering of others as if it were your own. You can't walk past someone in pain without feeling it in your chest. You can't witness injustice without something inside you rising up to correct it. And people have taken advantage of this. They've drained you. They've used you. They've called you a savior complex or codependent, or too sensitive, but you're not broken. You're operating from a frequency most humans have forgotten. You feel the unity. You experience the truth that there is no other. And because of that, your entire life has been an act of service. Not because you're trying to earn salvation, but because serving others is how you express your recognition of what you are. The archons fear this path because love is a frequency they cannot enter. When a chosen one on the path of agape holds space, when they anchor monad love in material form, the archons can't function in that field. Their weapons stop working. their manipulation dissolves, and everyone in proximity to that frequency begins to wake up. You don't escape alone. You escape by pulling others with you. And the moment you recognize that your love is not weakness, but the most powerful force in this dimension, your path becomes inevitable. You love your way out of the prison, and the walls fall as you go. The fourth path Jesus revealed is the path of praxis, the way of aligned action. This is not the path of contemplation. This is not the path of inner work alone. This is the path where you dismantle the archon system by refusing to participate in it, by building alternatives, by living in a way that makes their control irrelevant. Chosen ones on the path of praxis escape by embodying the truth so completely in material form that they become living proof. The prison is optional. Jesus described this path as the way of those who incarnated not to teach or heal or perceive, but to demonstrate, to show that another way is possible, to build the systems, the structures, the communities that operate outside archon frequency. If you're on the path of praxis, you've always been a builder. You don't just think about solutions, you create them. You don't just critique systems, you invent alternatives. And you've probably been frustrated your entire life because everyone around you is talking, theorizing, debating, while you're trying to actually do something. You don't need more information. You need to move. You need to act. You need to take the vision and make it physical. The archons fear this path because you're not fighting them on their terms. You're not trying to reform their systems. You're not begging them for change. You're just ignoring them and building something they can't control. And every time a chosen one on the path of praxis creates a structure that operates outside the matrix, a crack appears in the prison, a doorway opens, and others see it and realize they can walk through. You escape by making the prison irrelevant, by living so completely outside its rules that it stops being able to touch you. And the more you build, the more others join you, and the more the entire system begins to collapse under the weight of its own irrelevance. The fifth path Jesus revealed is the path of kenosis, the way of total surrender. This is not giving up. This is not defeat. This is the conscious release of every attachment, every identity, every claim, until nothing remains but the pure awareness that you are. Chosen ones on the path of kenosis escape by becoming so empty that the archons have nothing to grip. They stop trying to control the outcome. They stop trying to save anyone. They stop trying to figure out the system. They just let go completely. And in that letting go, they discover they were never trapped in the first place. Jesus described this path as the way of those who incarnated, carrying too much density, too much karma, too much entanglement from previous cycles, and who can only return by releasing everything. If you're on the path of kenosis, you've tried everything else. You've sought knowledge and it didn't free you. You've practiced faith and it didn't lift you. You've served others and it didn't complete you. You've built alternatives and it didn't satisfy you. And now you're exhausted, not because you're weak, but because you finally realize that trying to escape is what keeps you trapped, that every effort, every technique, every practice is just another form of resistance, and resistance is engagement, and engagement is exactly what the archons want. They don't care if you fight them or serve the light. They just need you engaged with the illusion, but you're done. You're not fighting anymore. You're not fixing anymore. You're not becoming anymore. You're just here, present, aware, empty, and in that emptiness, something happens. The prison dissolves. Not because you defeated it, but because you stopped feeding it. The archons fear this path because they have no counter to it. You can manipulate someone who wants something, but you cannot manipulate someone who wants nothing. You can control someone who's trying to become something, but you cannot control someone who has released all identity. And the moment a chosen one on the path of kenosis fully lets go, they slip through the cracks. They don't escape. They just stop being trapped. Jesus revealed 5 paths, because there are 5 types of chosen ones, 5 frequencies, 5 ways. The monad calls its fragments home. Gnosis, the way of seeing. Pistis, the way of trusting. Agape, the way of loving. Praxis, the way of building. Kenosis, the way of releasing, and you don't choose your path, you recognize it. It's already been chosen. Before you incarnated, before you forgot, you agreed to walk one of these ways home. And the reason you felt lost, the reason nothing has worked so far, is because you've been trying to walk a path that isn't yours. You've been trying to escape through knowledge when your path is love. You've been trying to surrender when your path is action. You've been trying to build when your path is seeing. And none of it worked because you were following someone else's frequency instead of your own. But tonight that ends, because now you know the 5 paths exist. And somewhere inside you, as you heard each one described, something resonated or something recoiled. And that response is your answer. The path that made your chest open, that made you feel recognized, that made you think, yes, that's me, that's your path. And the path that made you feel nothing, or made you feel resistant, that's not yours. Don't try to walk it. Don't let anyone convince you it's the only way. The monad doesn't have one extraction protocol. It has 5, and yours is waiting for you to recognize it and step onto it fully. If you're recognizing your path tonight, do 3 things right now. First, comment below which path is yours. Say, I walk the path of nosis, or pistus, or agape, or praxis, or kenosis. Declare it. Let the monad hear you claim your frequency. Second, subscribe to Divine Codes, because advanced teachings for each specific path are coming and you need to be here when they drop. Third, like this video so other chosen ones discover the 5 paths before they waste more lifetimes walking the wrong one. Do all 3 now. Then tonight, sit in silence and ask yourself one question. Which path have I been walking without knowing it? Which one have I always been on, even when I didn't have the words for it? And when the answer comes, and it will come, stop resisting it. Stop trying to be something you're not. Step onto your path fully, walk it with everything you have, and watch how the prison that's held you for lifetimes begins to dissolve the moment you align with the frequency you agreed to carry. You're not lost. You never were. You were just walking the wrong path. Now you know the right one, and your escape has already begun.